Welcome back everyone, and today I have a super fun video where I am going to be going back and looking at my first D&D adventure I wrote for my first campaign. And just a little setup here is that I wrote this for my first real D&D campaign. I have been writing and playing D&D since around 2018, but those records have been thankfully lost to time. So I don't expect this to be horrible, but it's definitely going to be educational for what not to do. And hopefully it'll be entertaining for you all. Before we get into it, I just want to thank Steven for suggesting this video, and also Holden, the other half of this channel, for guiding me on the best way to make this kind of video. Alright, let's get into this review, which I am going to be doing unscripted, by the way. Okay, so now it's time to see what I wrote about 2 years ago, almost exactly. I hope it's not too horrible. Right now I can already tell you that this is not how I do it. I don't write Adventure 1 in all lowercase anymore. When I did this the first time, I had no organization, which is the first tip I can give you. Organize everything that you write when you write a campaign, because you're going to want to refer back to your old writings. So, I mean, a Google Drive is the perfect thing to use. I mean, mine's right here. I did this all after my campaign was over. So, you see we have I have timelines here, important people, all of the adventures, and then I think that's probably a mission statement. I talked about mission statements in one of my other videos. Oh, okay, it's nothing. That's cool. Yeah, so as you can see, this is not organized very well. I would say organize everything that you write. It is the best thing that you can do. And I guess we should get into the rest of this. So we have here, I guess, just the description of the town that they were going to. On the outskirts of the Dinam Empire, the Yarn Outpost is a small town with a population of only 27. 7 Dinam soldiers, their commander Rosalind, the elected mayor, Mayor Brown, and 18 civilians. Wow, I got hung up on specifics there. That's really not important. You can say there's a small amount of people. Generally, when you write a location like this, if it's going to be a small town, you say there's not a lot of people who live here. Make up a number. Your players aren't going to go around counting each person in the town to see if you're right. And what you can basically do is say there's a small amount of people, and then put a very small amount of important NPCs there, because then that portrays to the players that if there's this little people for us to talk to that are important, that must mean that not a lot of people live here. Which, you know, makes a lot of sense in retrospect. It is funny that I counted the exact amount of people. The problem. People are going missing. In the last few months, 8 young men and women have been seen entering into the wilderness, never to return. Okay, that's a pretty good hook, I'd say. Like most people walk into the woods, they want to go in and they want to find them. I like that hook. Mission statement. You have been sent here on your first assignment to figure out the source of the disappearances and solve the problem before it causes doubts of our abilities to maintain peace in the region. Okay, so that needs a little bit of explaining. I made them members of the army when I did this campaign. I felt it was the easiest way to get them sent on missions, you know, and I can basically control where they go. I'd say that's a great thing to do if you're a first-time DM and you don't want to worry about your players going in any direction at any moment. And it's a great writing tool. So I'd say if it's your first time running a campaign, do exactly that. Make them some sort of subordinates to someone that they have to follow their orders. It's a perfect way to do it. Resources. You will be provided food, lodging in the local tavern. It's good grammar right there. The commander and his soldiers' main priority is keeping peace in the town, but if it comes to it, you may be able to convince Rosalind to lend you some of her men. Okay, looks like I switched the gender of the commander halfway through a sentence. Accompanying you, as always, will be your driver, Charles. Okay, I don't... The only problem with what I'm seeing so far is what I'm not doing. So what I'm not doing is giving them real descriptions. When you write a session, you want to give real descriptions of what's going on. You don't want to, like, this is perfect for if you're just writing down your idea of the start of the adventure for yourself. You can write little paragraphs like this just to put everything in mind for yourself. But when you're going to give it to your players as a finished project, you need to have descriptions that, you know, grab their interest, because this is just like, yeah, you have this, this, and this, and you go over there, and yeah, you know, you can do the thing that I've made for you. Like, that doesn't feel proper at all to me. I mean, okay, so here's the next little campaign that I tried to write, and this is when I kind of redid everything about my running. I went and I looked at my old campaign and said, what the hell did I do wrong? Because my players liked it, but I didn't like it. I thought that I wasn't doing enough. So I went and I looked at it and I reassessed myself, critiqued myself, and I figured that I needed to put better descriptions, and that was one of the things. And also my organization. So you can see here that it's much more organized. And what you want to do is you have your own understanding of the place, and then you need to rewrite it into a way that players will, you know, be able to understand from what you're saying. And so you just have it all written down here in a color that's easier to read than black, you know, that separates it. And you can give your players descriptions as they sit there and listen to you that actually mean something. And, you know, there's little areas here where, like, if you give them something, you know, that's like, here's your thing, yeah, I'm giving you information. You leave spaces for yourself where you're not talking over your players. You say, this is the thing that you're doing, and then you wait a second, and the players are going to respond to you. That's when you start improvising conversation. But it's good to keep a sort of like a flow to it, where you have, this is the thing that I'm giving to you, player conversation, they respond back. Okay, this is that, player conversation, they respond back, and then you move on with the story. You want to keep things moving at a brisk pace, and you have full control of that because you are running the NPCs. And, you know, keep it, like I said, organized. Keep it in a different color so you know what you're supposed to be reading out loud. And always give your players descriptions. Never do what I did here, which is just, this is what they're doing, this is what they have, and then you just, like, tell them all of that information, because it's going to sound like just really bad. All right, moving on. I guess we have the threat here. I don't think I read that to the players. Maybe I did. The vampires. A few months ago, a man moved into town and purchased a cabin that had been abandoned for years. This man was a vampire searching for an ancient book that tells of his people. When he arrived at the cabin, he soon came to find that the book had been removed from its resting place and is now in the library of the town's mayor. Now, after months of planning and building his army and strength, the time has come for him to steal the book and then take over the rest of the town. Okay, that's a fine way to write down your ideas, like I said before, but that gives nothing to the players. I mean, are we going to tell the players, hey, the vampires are here, we know it's vampires, go deal with it? Because that's something, but then you're going to need to have a switch around or whatever. There's no discovery there. People, they're going to know it's vampires, they're going to prepare for vampires, they're going to go and they're going to kill the vampires, which, I mean, that can be fun, but there's no wonderment, and that's where I'm seeing an issue here. Okay, then I have a ticking clock, apparently, which, by the way, never do in D&D, because time in D&D is ridiculous to track. I've found that the best way to track time is basically explain how time has moved on every time they do a major thing in your, like, session. For example, like, if they're leaving their home base and then they get to where they're supposed to go for the mission, you say, is this time when you're at your home base, and now it is this time. And then when they're done with their mission there, you say it is now this time. And you basically have to control time yourself as the DM. So I would just avoid putting a ticking clock in, because basically all you're doing there is saying, I am the DM, I will decide when this ticking clock goes off, and you have nothing to do about it, because the players have no control over the time that it's taking them to do things. So I would avoid this. I would not put a ticking clock. Anyways, our ticking clock here is that the party has only 8 days, one for each missing youth, to find and kill the vampires before they attack the town. With each day, another missing youth is transformed into a vampire. Okay, I'm okay with that. I mean, if it's something like it's going to be harder the longer it takes the players to find something, I'm okay with that. But like I said, it's just not viable. I think I remember that I threw the ticking clock out almost immediately because the players showed up, they talked to everybody in the town, and then they went and they did the thing. So, like, they weren't even there for a day because it doesn't take that long. If you want to do something like this, I guess the best thing to do is have the players needing to talk to people a day after. Like, if they needed a certain weapon, like a bunch of wooden crosses, and they went and they talked to a carpenter, he's going to say, oh, I'll have that ready in 2 days. Then 2 of the youths are going to die. Then your players wouldn't know that they were going to die, so basically all you're doing is punishing your players for something they didn't know about. So this is a horrible example. Ticking clocks, in my opinion, don't really work. If I ever figure out how to do that, I'll make a video. I mean, just thinking about it right now, I have a few ideas, but I'm not going to get too stuck up on this. Okay, it looks like we have optional quests here, which for one adventure, having optional quests is something that I would avoid, because you want your adventure to either be the main quest or be the optional quest. You don't want optional quests in a 4-hour session. You want a 4-hour session to be one of those optional quests, so it actually, you know, once again, means something to the players. But here we have Mayor Bowers, who wants 1 or 2 of the party members to watch over his home at night, and if accepted, he offers them an Ion Stone of Sustenance. I guess I looked at the magic item table and thought that was cool. Nothing happens for 2 nights, but on the 3rd, the vampires seen by Danton returns for the book. Okay. So that's not an optional quest. That is something that the players can do to figure out where the vampires are, is watching over the house that, you know, got attacked by the vampires, which makes a lot of sense. Obviously, they're going to come back. My only problem with this is that he says that he wants 1 or 2 of the party members to do it, which is, no, not good. Never write in ways to separate the party. You want to keep the party together because they're a party. They need to do everything that they do together. Sometimes it wouldn't make sense to have 4 people doing the same thing at the same time, or even 5, but you know, the whole point of the game is that they're playing it as a group, so separating them fucking ruins the game, so don't do it. Especially with something like this. I mean, they're watching over a mansion of the mayor, so 4 people actually makes a lot more sense than 2. But, you know, whatever. Moving on, we have Commander Rosalind's side quest. The commander thinks that her men are getting soft because of their relatively peaceful assignment. She wants to show them that they aren't invincible, so she offers Michael. I named my friend instead of putting his character name in there. Don't do that. What you want to do is always refer to your players as their character names when you're at the table. This is actually a huge thing. Write down in your sessions their character names, okay, so that you are treating them as their character. And whenever you talk to them with their character name, not their name, because that is going to get them to, you know, play their character. So this is horrible. Never ever write your friend's actual name in there. Michael, I'm sorry that I did this to you. I also apparently gave him some kind of ointment with 5 uses. I like magic items. I'll tell you that right now. First session, give him magic items. Who cares? It's fun. I mean, it's not great for balancing, but you know, yeah, just give them the magic items, work around it later. I'm okay with that. Especially, I think this one is a you know, more of a limited use one. I don't think it recharges. It might, who knows? But you know, yeah. Yeah, I would do this in one of my other campaigns too. I mean, if I was gonna write this now, I would probably beefing up this a little bit. You know, give it like an actual description. Give like the men like personalities, give Commander Rosalind a personality other than what I think she is in my head. And I would probably, once again, make it with all of the players against a big group of enemies, because having your players sit and watch another player fight somebody is not fun for your other players. They want to fight too. That's why they're here to play the game. So don't single out people like this, and don't make your other players sit on the sidelines and watch, because nobody wants to do that. All right, now we have Yornir Cragback. That's a cool name. I like that. He wants the party to convince Commander Rosalind to allow him to build the tools he needs for the wall. If the task is completed, he will offer the party a sword of life-stealing. Oh my god! A sword of life-stealing at Adventure 1. Okay, I take it back. Don't give your party that kind of stuff at level 1. I think I scrapped that mid-session because I don't remember anybody having a sword of life-stealing at Adventure 1. I think I went back on that, but wow. Yeah, don't do that. Never do that. You want people to earn swords. Having one charm check is not enough for someone to like earn a sword of life-stealing. Oh god, that's just horrible. Don't do any of that. I mean, if you want to show off the relationships of your characters, like your NPCs, this is a good way to do it. I mean, have the party intervene and talk to them, like treat it like a Fallout game or something where the players just need to go and they need to talk back and forth between people to get something done. But don't give them a sword of life-stealing for it. Give them, like, some gold. I mean, or give them, like, free lodgings for the night. Something like that. Do not give them a magic item like that. Never do that. Okay. Raelnor Fentress wants the party to accompany him into the forest so he can finish surveying the area for his work, I suppose. He offers them each 3+1 ammunition that he makes as a hobby. Well, they get attacked by bears. Okay, yeah, this is... See, my only issue is that there's so many of these. It's just... Yeah, I'm distracting from what I could be writing into the whole investigation with the vampires, because I see here this is too much going on for one session. If you wanted to run a session where the players get to town and they go around, and it's going to be a town that they're going to be at for a couple sessions, like I recommend running a session where the players get there, and if they're going to be there for a few adventures, have a session where they get to town, walk around, and get to meet everybody, and maybe do some odd jobs, that can earn them some gold, and they can get a place to stay, stuff like that. But if you're going to have a vampire hunt, don't have that in the same session with when they go around and meet everybody. That's a horrible idea, because you're bloating up the session too much. I mean, if the players did all of this stuff, this is looking at like a 6-hour sort of campaign with little paragraphs written about each of these things. Like, I would have all of these be 4 times the length if I would write them now, because this is nothing. I mean, like this Raelnor Fentress one, for example. I mean, the party's gonna go up. They're gonna say, "Hi, who are you?" He's gonna say, "Hi, I'm Raelnor Fentress. I make this big wall." And then he's gonna say, "Can you come help me build my big wall?" And they're gonna say, "Okay." And then they're gonna walk out. They're gonna stand around there. They're gonna get attacked by bears, and then they're gonna go back. And then there's gonna be really no purpose to that. Like, there's nothing that is achieving, because Raelnor Fentress isn't gonna be a big part of this vampire hunt that they're doing, and they're only spending 1 session in this town. Later on in the campaign, I said, wow, I wasted a lot of characters, and I went back and I reused these characters, but I wasn't planning on doing that in this moment. I'm reviewing this as if I just wrote it, so basically, you don't want to do this. If you're gonna have these types of characters, you want to beef them up, give them a real story. I can guarantee you that none of these people have backstories. I didn't write that for them. And that's what you want to do. You want to make them real people. And you'd want to give them a series of jobs to follow for each of these people, so that you build a relationship with these people. You get to understand who they are. They keep rewarding you a little bit better and better stuff, maybe a little bit more gold every single time, and you work up to that sort of life stealing. But yeah, you don't want to bloat your campaign with side quests. I mean, with like one adventure, you don't want to bloat it with side quests. It's okay to have side quests, but to have them all in one adventure is just a bad idea. Okay. So that is my main adventure sheet. And I mean, I still do this with I have like a main adventure sheet, but now it's kind of like I use that as a flow for the rest of the other things that the players can do. So I have like, this is the start. This is like all the things that people are going to say in the start. And then you have your role playing going on. And then you have the mission that they're going to do. And then as they go out, there's going to be a bunch of different places that they're going to that have their own sheets, and that's all on the main adventure sheet. But here it looks like I have Adventure 1, and then I did Planned Encounters. and, oh boy, I haven't looked at this yet. Wow, these... wow, these are... They sure are Planned Encounters. Those are, Commander Soldiers Fight. Every turn, a magical barrier comes and the players must surpass an acrobatics check to stay standing. Okay, that's fine. They're fighting on some sort of magical fight pit that has little checks for you to stay standing. That's fine. Yeah, 4 main platforms, and players can jump across to attack different people. Sure. Super magical training area. That's fine. But... But the problem is, for one, I didn't even say how many of these guys they're fighting. Maybe that's in my big list of NPCs that are in the town. Oh, yeah, 7 DnD soldiers. So does that mean that one of my players is fighting 7 people? Hey, I guess. Because I didn't write it down, and that's the problem. You need to write these things down. Also, it's like... They walk up, they say hello, and she says hello, fight my men, and then they get thrown into the fight pit. Nothing builds to this. They don't meet any of the people. Like, if I was going to do this now, I would be like, oh, they get there, they have to ask around to find Commander Rosalind. And as they're asking around, there's only 7 other guys there, or guys, women, whatever. There's only 7 others. So they have to go around and talk to all these people, and maybe one is good with bows, and one is good with swords, and, a bunch of stuff like that. And then they talk to Rosalind. She says, I want you to fight my men. Okay. Then give the player an opportunity to go around and maybe sabotage the other men so that they mess up during the fight, like loosen their bowstring or, cut their trousers open so that it falls down when they start fighting. Something like that. Make it fun. Give your players an opportunity to meddle with the situation, because just throwing them into a fight against 7 other people is just, it's not anything. It's nothing. It's just, here, I read online that I need 3 combat encounters. Here's the first one. Like, that's what that feels like. Don't do this. And, like I said before, descriptions are everything, because you can say that a magical barrier comes up, but your players are going to go, huh? You need, like, something like a blue, you say that a blue hint of magic surrounds you in a circle as the other men get lifted up from flat, almost invisible blue surfaces that raise them about 10 feet in the air. Something like that. You give them a description or something, and so they understand what they're dealing with here. Because if you just say a magical barriers, that's nothing. We're here to be creative, so be creative. This is really bad work. And it only gets worse from here, it seems, because the bear fight, gorge with river at bottom of huge drop, deathfall. That's horrible. Oh god, I didn't think I was gonna be as embarrassed of this. I thought I was a little bit better of a DM at this point, but I guess not. No, that is everything wrong. Don't give your level 1 players a death fall. That doesn't work. I guess a bear wouldn't try to push them off, but still, they could slip. They could, something could happen. Don't put your level 1 players at a death fall. They might come up with they might think that they're Wile E. Coyote and try to jump over the side, but then walk back over. Who knows? Don't do that. Wait, leave the death pits for later. And also, like I said before, descriptions. Like, come on. Like, how does the bear come in? Like, are they just there? They get to the gorge and all of a sudden, bear. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Give them a few checks to make around. Like, oh, it's helping him survey. So, he has to say, like, oh, can you look around for this certain type of rock? I can't build if this certain type of rock is here. And then you have your players go and do some skill checks, do some nature checks, and maybe if they roll high enough on their nature checks, they see evidence of a bear. And so you set up the bear in some way, because if a bear just comes out of nowhere, it doesn't mean anything. And then also, like, when the bear shows up, don't just have the bear go rawr and like attack them. The bear comes up and it's like timid of all of these people in its home, and it like rears, like it looks like it wants to attack. And give your players some time to like maybe find some berries or throw a fish at it. I don't know. Don't just have them show up to a gorge, say, "Oh wow, look at that death drop," and then rawr, like a bear attacks. No, don't do that. We need descriptions. We need setups. We need different opportunities and ways to deal with the situation. And oh god, this is why I don't write like that anymore, because that's horrible. Okay. Next we have the vampire cabin, and I already know that this is bad because this is supposed to be the end fight of the adventure, which is supposed to be awesome and like fun, and it's one sentence long. Whatever remaining civilians there are being held in the cabin and will be killed by AoE attacks. Okay, no, that makes sense. So I put civilians there so that my players don't walk up and say fireball, but they're at level 1. I don't even think they have AoE attacks. Know what your players can do before you write a session, because I don't even think they had AoE attacks. Apparently they might have a sort of life stealing, so the vampires should watch out for that. No, not at all. No, this is like the end of the session. You need to have an awesome fight here, because I mean, the soldier fight, yeah, that's like, okay, we're playing D&D, let's get fighting, let's start thinking tactically. Bear fight, okay, this is where we can have a few other ways around the situation other than just fighting. Let's use the other side of our brains and start problem solving and try not to just hit this thing. Okay, vampire cabin. This is where you could do both. Like, you can either have the players run in there and kill them all, okay, or the players can talk to the vampires, figure out that all they want is a stupid book, and then give them the book and say goodbye. And then maybe that could have some repercussions later, but at least it's a different way to deal with it other than rawr and attacking them. Or you can have the players sneak in, rescue the civilians, when the vampires are sleeping during the daytime. Hey, come on. And then you have them blow the cabin up when they get the civilians out. Yeah, you have to plan for all like these sorts of things that the players might do. And, I just made a video about that, so maybe check that out. But, no, this is... that is horrible. That's horrible. Definitely not. Definitely don't do any of this, because this is nothing. Plan out your encounters. Like, this says planned encounters, and that's a lie. That is a dirty lie. I did not plan these encounters, and I'm sure the players and me were both confused when we were trying to figure it out. Did I? I didn't even say how many vampires there were. So, like, what? Is there one vampire chilling in that cabin, or what? Oh, that's horrible. That's not good. Don't do this. Plan your encounters. Give your players multiple ways to deal with a situation and make it fun, because this is not fun. Okay, let's see this last one. Okay, I see some problems already, but events adventure 1. So these are things that happen. I guess this is a bit of a guideline for myself, but yeah, no, this isn't how I would do it at all. The party arrives at night, dropped off at the tavern in town. Inside, there are 3 commoners playing 3 Dragon Ante, Carolyn Shea singing songs, a commoner bartender who is incredibly attractive, okay, and Relnor Fentress sleeping at the bar. Okay, interesting. So that's fine. I mean, like I said, more in-depth descriptions, but this is a perfectly good setup for the start of a campaign. Players get to a tavern and there's things to interact with. I would put in more different games, like something with skill checks is always my favorite to do in a bar. I mean, 5-finger fillet is always easy to do, arm wrestling, drinking contests, things that people in a bar would do. I mean, like flip cup, anything. Go to a college party and see what they're doing, and then put that into your D&D campaign. People come up with some crazy stuff, and I mean, if you go to a kegger, you're going to find a lot of different skill checks going on. So maybe do that and put that into this instead of just saying that there's a couple of commoners playing 3 Dragon Ante, because no one wants to play 3 Dragon Ante. No one wants to do that. It's like playing Caravan in New Vegas. No one wants to do that. Okay. When the party enter, that's good English. When the party enter, the bartender waves to them and says, "Welcome, your rooms are already prepared, and my son can prepare your meal if you desire." Wow, that's an NPC if I've ever seen one. After the party gets settled, Danton rushes in and starts yelling about a break-in, but notices the party, stops talking, and politely introduces himself. Okay. Danton, this is probably a good time to do this. Danton is my player's favorite NPC from this campaign, but Danton is nobody. I played Danton as like a little kid with ADHD. Like, he kind of ADHD and like short-term memory loss. Like, he walks in and he says, "Oh my gosh, there was this thing that just happened," and he like starts staring off into the distance. Like, the way I played it was that I would focus on one party member and jump around constantly between making eye contact, and then randomly in his sentence I would just snap and I would look off into a different direction. My players love Danton, but the problem is I came up with that on the spot. I said, "Wow, this character's boring." I didn't do anything for this character, and he's kind of like the whole reason the players have to go to the mansion and like check it out. So I need to give him something. So I gave him that, but plan out these characters, because then you can make them even more interesting. And then all of your characters are interesting. You don't have a bartender that says, "Hello." Like, you don't want to do that. It's just not fun. Okay. If the party checks out the mansion, why wouldn't they? There is a broken window. The mansion seems untouched, but if investigated well, they will see a book is missing from the office. Okay. If investigated well. That is also not how I would do this anymore. I developed a bit of a system with skill checks where, it's like 1 to 4, 5 to 9, stuff like that, where, you have a different description for each player based on how good they rolled. And I would probably implement that here, where like a 1 to 4 would be like, you don't even notice that the place has been broken into. I mean, it's the best place you've ever been to. This mansion is awesome. And then a 5 to 9 being like, you see the broken window and you're kind of distracted from the puddle that's gathering from the storm outside on this nice shag carpet. And then a 10 to 14, that's like, you investigate around, but you don't really find anything. And then 15 to 19, that's probably when they would find the book. And then I would also add something in for a 20 or above, because that is a good roll and your player should be rewarded for that. And what I would probably add in is like a sign that it was a vampire that did it. Because I guess at this point the players don't know that it's vampires, but Okay. If asked about the book or the intruder, if asked about the book or if the intruder had dropped anything. Okay, so this is also important. I mean, so we'll say so right now I'll just say don't Don't think that your players are going to ask if someone is going to do something. Nobody thinks like you do. You have your own train of thinking, and you're writing the story. So you're on this one set path that you think, oh, this is something how I would figure out this story that I am writing. And that's not how that works. You need to make it incredibly open, because your players are going to come up with different ways to solve this story, and you're not going to plan for that. But the way that they solve that story is the right way to do it, because it is their adventure, okay? So don't make up one select path of clues for them to follow, because that is railroading. What you want to do is have the book as a clue, and then have something that the vampire dropped as a clue, and then also maybe a blood trail from jumping through a window that is also a clue. But all of these clues lead to the same place. It just takes different types of checks to get to those places. So basically, I would say that you don't want to plan on them asking someone about if this happened. You want to leave something there, okay? And then if they get a good enough investigation check, then they see it, and then they could talk to the NPC that was there, you know? Anyways. Danton rushes into his bag, pulling out various junk items until he finds the book that the vampire dropped. Okay, so yeah, I wouldn't ever do this, because, I mean, why? Like, why would the vampire jump through the window and then jump out the window and drop the book? Because he sees Danton. Danton is a little halfling, and it just doesn't make any sense. I mean, if the vampire got stopped by somebody else and maybe damaged, like someone shot him with a crossbow, that would make more sense on why he would drop something. But I just don't like this at all. If researched for a day and with a good enough arcana check, someone could determine that the book is about vampires, and that these vampires are weak to dead man's blood, slashing damage, and sunlight. I'm okay with that. Like I said, more descriptions. I would honestly write a passage in the book about vampires that, you know, makes them... I would write a passage in the book from, like, my own version of Van Helsing that's like, the vampires are weak to the dead man's blood. When you slash at their necks, their skin seems to separate before the blade even reaches it. And when they step out into the sun, they burn up. And it's a spectacular show of lights and ash. Like, something like that. You know, a little bit more detail. That was off the cusp, But you want to do that, because then your players are interested and intrigued. They're not just reading a book and saying, yeah, they're weak to these things. Like, no, don't do that. Don't ever do that, because, you know, it just disconnects your players from the campaign. It makes the game feel like a game and not like this cool vampire investigation that you want it to. And here's my favorite part of this page. Improv dialogue. Mayor is welcoming and wants help. Commander is formal and respectful unless insulted. Blacksmith is disgruntled but excited if offered help. This... don't do that. Priestess / bard is kind and interested in the party. Like, these are just wrong. Okay, so I did plan Danton to be a little bit, you know, staring off into the distance. So okay, gave myself too much credit earlier. But regardless, don't write your NPCs like this, because this is nothing. This is like baby's first adventure, which it kind of is. But I'm here to tell you what not to do, and don't do this at all. This is this is bad. You want your NPCs to be people in your world. You want them to be real people. Your players aren't going to remember Mayor because he is welcoming and wants help. If your mayor was Joseph Applebite and he was scheming and he thought that this whole vampire situation may do bad in the polls and he doesn't want to get unelected, you know, I don't know, something like that. I mean, anything is better than nothing, is essentially what I'm saying. And you can go check out my other video on writing NPCs, because that definitely is going to give you advice better than looking at this little sentence about how Raelnor is depressed and eccentric, but reinvigorated if the party helps him. Because, come on, that's just nothing. that's just horrible. And I mean, with that, we're done. There's not much of an end here because because I didn't write an end to the adventure. I mean, okay, so the players get to the vampire and they fight them. Don't use AoE damage. And they fight the vampire, and then what? You need to write an end to your sessions, is essentially what I'm saying. You can't just say, these are all the things that lead up to the event, and then the event happens, and like that. No. Write an end to your sessions. Always write an end to your sessions, because that is your final note. I mean, you give your players one last bit of description and a little last bit of roleplay to hold on to, and then they think about that all the way until next week when they play the game again. You can't just not do that. You need to write an ending. I didn't write an ending. That's really bad. Yeah. So I guess the biggest takeaways here are write descriptions, plan your encounters, plan your encounters better than that, and write out your NPCs. And that's kind of worse than I was expecting. I don't know what you guys expected. I kind of portray myself as this incredible writer, but I just know D&D, and I know that this is bad D&D. So don't ever do this, and please feel free to check out my other videos to learn what you're actually supposed to do. I hope that this was entertaining for you as it was for me, because oh boy. And have a good one. Have fun playing D&D. Please consider subscribing. If you liked this style of video, I could check out some of my other campaigns, or I mean, this is a new idea that I just thought of. Even if you want to send me some of your old campaigns and I can look at it and I could critique you, if you are interested in that, I would be totally down. I would record it and I would upload it to this channel and put your dirty underwear out for everybody to see. But if you're interested, put it in the comments. I think that could be fun. Anyways, I'll get out of your hair. I hope you enjoyed this video, and have a great day.